Hello, I'm Neil, and I'm an adventure-holic. You probably recognize this as a mountaineer's ice axe, but actually what you probably don't know is that it has many other practical and useful applications, one of which being a very effective anti-snoring device. Very effective in crowded mountain huts, tents, dormitories, anywhere where the persistent night growlers operate. What you do is you take your trusted ice axe, and a short, sharp grab to the ribs is all that's required to guarantee a great night's sleep. It works. You see, for the best part of 40 years, I'm sorry to say, I've been organizing and leading journeys and adventures on 7 continents by land, sea, and air. And today, I'd like to share with you my 5 golden rules for having an amazing one. Take some of these rules, and I almost guarantee that you'll have an incredible experience. I'd also like at the end to tell you a few confessions that I have. So here are the rules. Rule number 1. Your journey and adventure must be challenging. Otherwise, you're probably having a holiday. I was in Afghanistan last week. A mildly terrifying experience, if I'm honest. And that's just the Kabul taxi drivers. Number 2, you've got to go with good people. Listen, a bad egg can spoil your breakfast, but can also spoil your journey. Number 3 is you've got to have fun. Despite some ups and downs and some hardships, you've got to be having some fun. And talking about eggs, I took a group to the Himalayas earlier on this year. And I organized in a tense moment as we were acclimatizing to play the highest game of egg and spoon, the egg and spoon race, highest in the world. That was a lot of fun. Number 4 is really important. If you can align your project, your journey, your adventure for the benefit of other people, perhaps in country, and or align your adventure with a charity, and we've heard many today, so much the better. And I love the story of my friend John Blashford Snell, who was in the middle of the Amazon jungle, and he met a chief, the tribal chief of this village in the Amazon jungle. And he asked the chief, what one thing you would like in your village? And John was very surprised by the answer. A piano. But John, 2 years later, true to word, he dragged a baby grand piano back into the village through mud and jungle and vines, etc., and delivered the piano, and has been back a couple of times to retune the thing. The last one is probably most important. We all must travel responsibly and, of course, look after the environment. And I was really disturbed a few years ago walking through the high street of a town in Mauritania, Western Sahara Desert, ankle deep in plastic. We have many problems to solve with regards to our environment and our planet. I'd like to share a few more examples with you. This is my project, Virgin Peaks, in East Greenland a few years ago. Giles and I, we climbed this peak. Now, I don't know if you know, but if you're the first to climb a mountain, you get the opportunity to name it. How great is that? After your daughter, your son, your wife, partner. So we call this one Mount Eppels. Please don't tell the Greenland authorities it stands for easy peasy lemon squeezy. Just over 100 years ago, one of my heroes, Sir Ernest Shackleton, was fighting for his life with his men after his ship had sunk in sea ice. A pretty tragic state of affairs, particularly for the sailors who weren't used to spending time in a tent on the ice. He had the most incredible escape from Antarctica using a small boat, 21-foot boat like this, and he eventually secured the rescue of his entire team. A really epic tale. And I was really fortunate a few years back to replicate elements of that journey, sailing this ship, this little boat, landed on Elephant Island, and then crossed the Southern Ocean, and then walked across South Georgia, following Ernest Shackleton's footsteps. A most special treat. And sailing around icebergs, it doesn't get much better, and the wildlife's spectacular. If you get an opportunity to go to Antarctica, I would definitely go for it. Probably my most challenging expedition journey was 10,000-kilometer London to Timbuktu. And I had the controls. I was piloting the world's first road-legal, biofueled flying car. And I promise you, when this picture was taken, my buttocks were as tense as anything. It was a maiden flight in Wales before we endeavored on this 10,000-kilometer journey. But what a wonderful place it is, the Sahara Desert, and various places in between. Now, I said go with some good people, and I've had the privilege of spending nights in a tent with a number of them. Here's one, Mark Beaumont. Now, he's an international athlete, cyclist, world record holder, less than 80 days to go 18,000 miles around the world. He also has a British record for riding a penny farthing very fast around a track, which we helped him in June this year. Why on earth I invited him on a canoe expedition, I still don't really quite know. Cale Royce, for me, is a hero. He was in the British Army, very sadly lost both his legs in a rocket attack in Afghanistan. But that didn't stop him from joining me on a pretty arduous expedition, flying 1,000 kilometers up the Rift Valley in Kenya in almost a death trap contraption called a microlight, or one of these contraptions you see before you. We had our moments, but he was a fantastic navigator and didn't let the fact that he had no legs stop him at all. Bear Grylls, he really does like to get naked. It's embarrassing, even on his 30th birthday party. This was our celebratory picture having summited Everest a few years back. It was a little chilly to do this at the summit, you'll understand. I do apologize for the front row. Now, I said you've got to have fun, even on a tough mission like skiing to the North Pole. You've got to be thinking about having some fun in the down times, the difficult times. And I knew that there was a good chance there would be a number of days before the pickup, the plane coming in to pick us up, having reached our destination of the North Pole. As it happened, it was 9 days. We were eating the waste from the waste bag, the food that was in the waste bag from our expedition the previous weeks. It wasn't pleasant. But I had taken the precaution of asking my team members to bring a golf ball with them. And we played the first game of golf at the North Pole. Would you believe it? 2 members of the team brought white balls, for goodness sake. Another fun moment was actually after skiing into the South Pole on the centenary of Robert Falcon Scott's arrival there, 1912. We had a few glasses of champagne to celebrate the centenary, of course, and then challenged the rest of the world to a game of cricket, first ever at the South Pole. I'm very pleased to say England won by 2 wickets. Thank you. Thank you. Now, it's not all cold and chilly expeditioning and adventures and journeys. The Dani tribe in Papua is an extraordinary tribe, and these guys are living like this, slightly weird customs right now. And you should go and visit them before perhaps they buy some sets of jeans, etc. It's really quite extraordinary. The guy in black is obviously dead, and I think he's been dead 300 years. We had no idea what his name was, but he was a vinegarated chief. We called him Derek. And the custom is Derek lives in a wicker basket in the men's hut, and we, the visitors and the tribespeople, would sleep with the 300-year-old chief that seemed to me had been barbecued rather vigorously. I must admit I have had more attractive sleeping companions on most of my expeditions. But these guys are amazing. They're extraordinary to stay with and to work with. And on one occasion, we escorted them into the jungle to go hunting. And I thought it'd be rather amusing and fun to dress up in the local custom. I can say if you ever find me strolling down Brighton Promenade in a penis gourd, you have permission to shoot me. Pretty hideous. Now, I said benefit others and align your journey and adventure, if you can, to charity. And what better charity to choose to be the first people to go around mainland Britain and Ireland on a jet ski than pick the RNLI, the lifeboat, Saving Lives at Sea charity. And it was quite a good decision because I needed their help on more than a couple of occasions. The Scientific Exploration Society you may not have heard of, but it's doing fantastic work. Discovery, research, and conservation in remote parts of the world, and you can join it. I had the opportunity in June of this year to join some Exeter University zoology students on a wild giraffe conservation program. Believe it or not, wild giraffe, like elephants and many other species, are declining rapidly, and we need to find out why. And so the SES is doing some great works around the world. Community Action Nepal is a wonderful charity, a British charity that works exclusively in Nepal for the Sherpa communities. And you'll remember the terrible earthquake of 2015. I remember it vividly because I was climbing Everest at the time, but it killed 8,000 people. Many more displaced and homes destroyed. And so it was a wonderful opportunity to go back in April and May of this year with a team to smash the world record for the highest formal black tie dinner party. It was quite chilly, minus 25, but we had a full 3-course meal and some fine wines. Most importantly, the team raised a 6-figure sum for those desperately in-need peoples, mountain peoples of Nepal. Finally, to travel responsibly and to look after our planet and environment. This shocking picture was taken by SES member Emily Penn on a recent sailing trip to Hawaii. Just a typical remote beach, and you can just see the image full of microplastics. This stuff is in our food chain right now. And probably within every one of us here today, I'm told 700 foreign chemicals reside in our bodies. We have to do something about this. We have to take action. These are 5 things I think that you can do, that we can do to help improve situations like that. Be a champion for planet Earth. Take up a cause, be it plant, animal, or human. Go travel and see the issues for yourself. Use social media to highlight the problems. And consider joining an active organization like the SES. Now, in my nearly 40 years of adventuring and journey making, I really have tried very hard to travel responsibly and to look after the environment myself. But I mentioned at the start, I have a couple of confessions to make. And I'd like to take this public opportunity to reveal them and to beg forgiveness. A couple of years ago, my friend James and I tried to cross the Bering Sea between Alaska and Russia. We got our planning a little wrong. The sea froze, it wasn't strong enough to walk on, and it was too thick to kayak through. At this point, I'd like to thank the American taxpayer for paying the £500,000 rescue bill. Climbing Colombia's highest mountain is actually illegal, principally because it's a national park and it's full of the wonderful people, Kogis, but they're a little shy, and it's illegal to pass through. I'd like to apologize to the Colombian government for slipping past all the checkpoints in the middle of the night. And finally, a few years ago, I could be seen paddling a bath across the Solent, a bit of water between mainland England and the Isle of Wight. Most people like to take the ferry. My friend John and I decided to paddle a bath. Successfully, as it happens. But on the return journey, I'm sorry to say, the bath sank accidentally to the bottom of the sea. And on this particular occasion, my trusty ice axe won't be up to the job to retrieve it to the surface. Has anyone got a scuba kit I can borrow, please? Thank you very much.